All right, my target audience is SSOs, SSIAs, and team leads. And the problem that we're trying to solve is the use of Portal as your go-to for package tracking purposes. How many of you here in this room have ever looked at code and installed code in a non-production or production environment? You have?
Mm-hmm.
Installed code, pushed it in, and then put it there for that actual thing. That's what you do on a daily
Track it.
basis.
Not on a
Track it.
day-to-day
We don't
basis.
load
I have
it.
done
Okay.
I've done it before in my previous jobs.
So currently in your current role,
No.
would you actually speak to a client and say, this is what's gone into non-production and this is what's gone into production?
Yes.
Good. How many rest of you? Anybody? Have you ever been involved with the load of code or been kind of the go-to person where somebody says, we need to install this package, please reach out to CernerWorks, please reach out to your system engineer and get that done for us?
Yeah.
Most of the folks in here. So I didn't introduce myself. My name is Ryan Engels, and I actually started not at Cerner. I was in manufacturing for 8.5 years, worked in a paint factory. I didn't have to load code, I didn't have to talk to software engineers, I didn't have to talk to system engineers. That wasn't what I did on a day-to-day basis. There was a big steep learning curve for me about how to load packages. I learned about different tools. I learned about my first tool. Clint King, my presenter, taught me about Package Tracker. You could look at client install history, you could look at package details, you could search by package number. I said, wow, that's a really handy tool, I'm gonna use that one. And he said, oh wait, I've got more. I also have distributions for you. You can look at install history, you can look at package details, and you can search by package number. And then he said, guess what? We've got another tool called RibInfo. Same deal. Look at the same information. And then they introduced me to Lights On. Lights On, you can look at tracking and install history, but not details or search specifically by package number. Now, you have to touch many different tools when you're going through and actually going through the package process. Supportal is a new tool that they've put in development, and you can actually track current and future state. You can look at install history, you can look at the details, and you can specifically search by package number. I'm going to do a walkthrough and show you the different tools and kind of the look and feel. I'm not going to go real in depth, but just a very high level, and then show you Supportal and kind of what it can do for your life. So the first tool, as I said, you can actually drill into that specific package. You can look at compatible releases, you can look at backend platforms, you can look at enforced dependencies, any replaced packages for obsolescence purposes. But it just doesn't feel like it's a good view, and you can't see everything in one snapshot view. This is where I started, and also I learned throughout my training program that if you look at the client install history in Package Tracker, that's just pulling from CernerWorks to say we're actually pulling it from the database. We don't actually have it installed in the client environment. So back up here, my install history is not really an install history. It just shows if a client's interested and they downloaded it for the first. It's not actually in the environment. So I said, okay, that's great. What else can I use? Well, distributions is another possibility. So Loma Linda, Marietta is what we're looking at, and we're looking at this specific package number. So if we go to that package number, we can get a lot of useful information. So certification guidelines, special instructions, technical considerations, known issues. Anything for like actual validation and testing purposes, this is a helpful tool to go to. But it's kind of clunky again. You can look at downloads, you can actually pull a report and look at installation history, But it's a big long list and a table of everything that's gone into any production environment for that client. Now you can slice and dice it and look at CERT or look at prod, but for the most part, it's not a very friendly view. So we go to RivInfo and we say, okay, we can also search the same package number by filtering under package query and then searching here, generate our report. And this actually brings us to that specific package number. This is probably the most helpful view that I've seen from actually visually looking at a package, because it's very easy to look at the description of, well, what does this package actually do? What are special instructions at the start of downtime, at the end of downtime, or the end of package installation instructions? You can actually speak like a systems engineer even though you don't really know the technical backside of what a package actually is. People on the phone that you're talking to do know what it is, and they're kind of wanting your help to kind of get some more details. So in Package Tracker, MPHH is the client that I have pulled up. It actually lives right under the client management and then just this tab right here. If the SSOs are entering in a package to track, it'll show up in this view. You can blow out the view and actually put in validator information by clicking these little boxes here or here. You can make notes. You can look if there's replacement packages, if there's dependencies that are created, if those dependencies are actually enforced or non-enforced. It's a very handy, quick way to view what's going on with this package. And remember revision info that we talked about earlier? Well, if you actually click on this arrow, that brings up that specific package and all of the information related to it. So it's an easy way to get to the information that you're seeking, but yet also holding true to the view that you want in SRM. And this will continue to blow up any package, so it's actually creating a new window in a window. Instead of generating a new query, going back, researching, going through the process again. It saves time. In terms of speaking to actually if it's in the production environment or non-prod, once it actually moves into CERT, you'll see a green arrow or a green bubble show up right here. That shows you the install time and when it actually made it into the environment. If it's backed out of the environment, then that actually disappears and that's no green box anymore. But at a glance, I can use this to manage with my client lead or my IAs on site and say, here's everything that we have sitting in CERT, and then when we run our package meetings, I can go through quickly and say, what do we need to move to prod? I make myself a little note right here, I add a comment, and I say CERT or prod, and then I can export this entire file, and that gives me a short list of what I can do to send that over to CernerWorks to have them install that code. We talked about lights on. So why is this important to us, and really the case study of what I found. In PHH, I was aligned somewhere in the October range right here. So this is packages installed over time by quarter. We're at 38, 36, and then we moved to 63, and then to 79. So we were able to update content more quickly and effectively just by putting it face up in front of the client and actually just me WebExing with them and then them going through and saying, well, that makes sense, we do want to load that, tell me some more information about that because our time is limited, so we want to get as much out of those package calls as possible. Where before, when I very first started, they were like, well, we're going to have to review this Excel list of 300 packages and then we'll get back to you. We were able to whittle that down to a 30-minute process. I highly encourage you to use this portal and pass it along to other SSOs, SSIAs, and team leads. There are going to be some new iterations that are coming out. Greg Ruff is releasing that version probably in the next quarter or so. And then we'll do another training video at that point. I'd like to open it to questions that you have about using Supportal over other tools, or like, is it important to use?
I'm struggling to see the value of this as a team lead. Can you explain it?
So you're saying that you, if I understand you right, your job is not really to load code as a team lead.
Correct.
So there's really no use for the tool because you don't touch this. This is an SSO, SSIA thing, right?
How I see it, yeah.
Okay. Has anyone on your team ever had a CR where they requested a package for the SSO or SSIA to implement? I guess how I think about it is taxes are coming up, right? And it's kind of like having a CPA. So you can have a dedicated CPA and you can take your taxes and submit it to them and they can email you back and forth. And the process probably takes a while, just getting all that information transferred from you to them. And then you also have TurboTax or H&R Block, where you can actually go out and do your taxes yourself. I see this as kind of the TurboTax version of doing your taxes, if that makes sense. So it's the same package and you get the same information, but you're able to go out and reach out into this. And what's important for prod support is I get emails a lot from associates or managers where they're saying, well, how's this package been installed? When was this package installed? They work in this tool every day in the queue view section for managing their queue and managing their tickets. It lives right here under package tracker. All you have to do is click on package tracker, drop in your client mnemonic, and then actually search to see, well, package number 103277 is something that I've been waiting on because I have work that needs to be closed out. That can actually be done or not be done, instead of waiting on someone else to give you that answer or respond to that email or maybe slow down the process.
It's a one-stop shop.
One-stop shop.
I like it.
That's my presentation.
Good job,
What do you
Ryan.
think?
I thought this, being able to do this, was like vital.
Yes.
I mean, it made a huge difference. Not that you didn't do good prior to this, but this helped a lot. Like, I want to actually use it now. So, I know you don't even do that, but it's helpful to know that, so.
And we will put out training videos. I'm working with Greg on it right now, of navigation of how to go through an intro package, how to go through and click through the validator steps, like useful tips and tricks, short 2 to 4 minute videos, something like that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to upload them to the Remedy training site where all of the other SRM videos live for QB management and everything else.
That'd be great.
Good.
Yep. Feedback then, we'll put it on the video as well.
I had the power opening, and you started out with how's this relevant or who's in the room. That I guess that's kind of knowing your audience as well. I mean, it kind of lends itself when you start to thinking that it's going to be towards like IAs and like more technical people, but then you really open it up to kind of your background as well. That okay, I don't have to be technical to figure out that I can go and easily look at this to figure out, what package we have taken, what we need to take, what this addresses, and that's kind of where I struggle with. So it kind of resonated with me as an SSO. What an easy place to go and get so much information, and you don't have to go to multiple places to figure out what it's going to address, like what a certain package is going to address. And so I get that question a lot from my clients. So this actually will benefit me not only here but tomorrow, today. So I thought you did good.
Yeah, good deal. John, you next couple.
The solution and differentiate, I think you were a little weak in being really obvious about the deficiencies, but I think that you could excuse that too because of the audience. So, I mean, I try to put myself in the framework of not knowing very much.
Sure.
And if that were the case, then I wouldn't have been able to tie it together. But since I do what I do, I mean, I'm already a believer in this and what we're trying to do, so I appreciated it. And it was, so your differentiation was more implicit than explicit. And I think that you might want to be a little bit more explicit than you were. But if your audience was people like me, you could probably be okay with that, so it just
Yeah.
depends.
And a newer SSO doesn't really understand the work involved or the work effort involved in the different tools.
Right.
Like the searching and the going back and forth and clicking through windows and.
Yeah, I mean, and your discussion of your own personal experience kind of relied on that, but you were almost coming from, now that I'm here, I've seen the, so I think you talked about your personal experience and then talked about the different tools, but it just wasn't as explicit as you might want to be. But I
Sure.
think that if your audience was more experienced people, you could be fine differentiating it the way you did, being less explicit.
Yeah, I think in this case it worked all right because it's folks that kind of work in this world. But yeah, I agree. If we were taking it to new SSOs
Johnny?
or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't work in that world, and I thought you did a real good job, like, when you were showing your demo of, like, I liked how you pulled up, like, oh, this is how we used to do it, and it kind of looked all
Mhm.
crazy, like, just seeing the difference between what it looked like and then how it looked like in the supportal, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. So, I mean, I may not know all the technical stuff that goes with it, but just the overview that you did, I thought was good from my point of view.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
And for
Well-
provided proof, because you took the differentiator from me.
I thought I had differentiated.
It's okay.
It's all right.
No hard feelings.
Well, I guess it was identify the
last
problem.
Yeah.
You're
I just
gonna,
wanted to say that's why I'm
Pick and
revisiting
choose
it.
what
That
of
way
it.
you didn't think that I was focusing on that one explicitly. For the differentiator piece, I am also very confused about the various places to find packages, request packages. It is daunting, overwhelming, it's crazy. So I really appreciate this topic. Resonates with me because I've never used it before I came to this role. So thank you. Major shout out there. Business case is there as well because it's confusing. You're like, wait, what? A SharePoint? What? No, I requested here. No, I have to email the what? And so I think that having this is going to be great for me personally. So I just really am passionate about this topic because I was clueless. So I'm glad you're doing this. And it was great. Great. You have great tone. You have great vocal variety. You sew a lot. I don't know if you know that.
I do.
You're a sewer.
I'm a sewer.
But it was really good. Good job. I like it.
Actually, in daily speech, I start with so, and I got made fun of in MBA courses because they would,
So
every time I was about to say, they'd be like, so.
I mean, it wasn't that, but you sewed a lot. But it was good. You did really good. I liked it a lot. Good
I
job.
think, to your point, you know, when we go through the ELDP program and you had examples that we had to actually go and find packages,
Mhm.
and I think we had to send them back to you or something like that. You remember that?
Yep, I do.
It's been a while ago. But that, like, if you had time, which I know you don't, but like if you had time to like actually do an example and have somebody try to figure out the same information using
Mhm.
a different tool and then using the supportal, I think you would find that it's like, you know,
Okay.
night and day.
Yeah.
That's just something like
Yeah.
not to do. I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying like that would have been a very concrete
Yeah.
way of being like, well, now you see the difference. Like you don't have to. It's hard. It was hard with those
Yeah.
examples to figure
Right.
out.
Yeah.
I struggled with it. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
the smartest tool in the shed, but sharpest tool in the shed. But anyway, like I think supportal would be like really easy to take those examples again in the
Mhm.
ELDP and figure all that information out right there.
It took me a good 8 months to even understand what a package was.
Yeah.
And
It did come from Amazon?
Like, no. Like, I was like,
Right,
package,
yeah.
what are you talking
It's
about?
not on my
Like,
doorstep.
code?
You know
It's
what?
line
That
code?
could be a great
I don't
opener.
understand.
Amazon, that could be a great opener.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazon package. You know, it's very simple.
It
It comes
is.
to your door and they take photos now, which is really creepy, of the package on your door. And so you can kind of say the supportal is like getting the package on your door, and that could be your opener.
That is.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do take photos of it on your door.
Good
Anyway, it was good.
ideas.
I was just thinking about those examples when we had to send it back to him. Like, I don't know if this is right. I couldn't really find it. It was hard,
Yeah.
and that was just exciting.
Yeah, we have it kind of a one-stop shop now, hopefully for the most part. But then it takes you out to RevInfo to get other stuff you need,
It'll
like
get
package
better.
compatibility and
It'll
some
get
of
better
those pieces.
with the next iteration.
So you're my go-to for all package questions.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I know
The
what you
process,
say.
the process, not
Well,
necessarily.
I-
He doesn't want to look up every
I can
package. for
I can
you.
assist.
You're a human supporter, what are you
Guide
talking
guide
about?
you in the right direction.
Yeah, he can show you
Ring a
where to
bell,
go find the
ring a bell,
information.
hello to Community Works for sure.
Yeah.
No, good job.
Good
Yeah.
job, that's good.
Jody?
I have flares and audience focused. Well, again, I've said this every single time, but I like your story about about your previous experience with working at the paint factory because you made it more relatable and like she was saying how if you know, you didn't have that experience before coming here with packages, and it was, I don't know if it was easy for you to understand, but it made it to where I was like, oh, I can get this, and I didn't just like totally tune out. And I liked how you showed the demo, the current versus future state. The only, and I don't know if this is like presentation, like if this is acceptable, but maybe like during the demo, break out into another flare, like a story or something to
Okay.
make it, just because it was like going on, and I was keeping, you know, in tune with it, but I could see how you could kind of like, okay, this is
Yep.
just another screen.
Demo,
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
you get sucked into the demo and it's like, okay.
Yeah, and then you're just kind of going through the motions, so you want it to like stick a little bit more. But I thought you did a really good job, and then with the audience focused, you made it all about us. I felt like, other than your personal stories, which was still about us, so I thought you did a really good job with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, all good stuff. You know, the flares really kind of standing, sitting, you know, that can be a flare. And so you did a good job then kind of moving the focus to, hey, here's the demo and let me show you. And so that was very effective. The objection was really good as far as how you reframed it, and then used an analogy, you know, ask, you know, further clarifying questions. So that, you know, I think met just about every piece there that you could. So yeah, good delivery. Otherwise, yeah, I think we'll keep, you know, preaching that gospel and keep pushing that message out to folks. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more of it.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, all right, good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll load